Hi, I'm Josie. This trunk's been in my family for generations, and buried in it is the story of my distant cousin, Julia Gardiner Tyler. Most people who've even heard of her think young, beautiful, married an old president. End of story. That's the vibe. But the record is a lot more interesting. Julia grew up wealthy on Long Island. They actually called her the Rose of Long Island. She was headed for a comfortable, ordinary high society life. Then, in 1844, tragedy struck. Her father was killed in a naval gun explosion aboard the USS Princeton, right in front of her during a presidential excursion. President John Tyler, a widower, 30 years older than her, was the one who comforted her afterward. Months later, they married in secret. Julia became the first woman in American history to marry a sitting president. She was 24 years old, about to become First Lady of the United States. By the time Julia got to the White House, she'd already decided one thing. Nobody was going to control her husband's image but her. She hired a press agent, a real one, in New York, just to make sure the newspapers covered President Tyler favorably. That's not something first ladies were doing in 1844. She was decades ahead of her time. She also redecorated the White House like a European royal court, complete with her own ladies in waiting. And here's a detail I love. The next time you hear Hail to the Chief played when a president walks into a room, that tradition started with Julia. She told the Marine Band to play it, specifically to announce her husband's arrival. People wrote her off as a young trophy wife playing dress up. The record says she was running a full-blown image campaign, and it worked. Here's the part of Julia's story that almost never gets told. She wasn't just at parties, she was in the room where policy got made. When Congress debated annexing Texas, one of the biggest political fights of the era, Julia showed up. She sat in the House Visitors Gallery again and again, visibly following the debate. People at the time genuinely associated her, personally, with the push for Texas statehood. That's not decoration, that's political engagement, in an era when women weren't supposed to have any. Texas was annexed in 1845, right at the end of her husband's term. She never held office, she never cast a vote, but she showed up, publicly, for something she believed in, and people noticed. Julia's story doesn't end when she left the White House in 1845. The Civil War split her family apart. She supported the Confederacy, her brother supported the Union, and they ended up in a legal fight over their mother's estate. She lost her Virginia home to Union soldiers and had to sue just to get it back. But here's the ending I think about most. Decades later, in 1880, a much older Julia went to Congress and successfully lobbied for a federal pension for presidential widows. She won. That fight helped build the precedent that supports presidential widows to this day. She started as the Rose of Long Island. She ended as a woman who changed policy twice, once from a White House ballroom and once from outside it, fighting for the ones who came after her. That's my cousin Julia. Vibe said trophy wife. The record said something else entirely.